Hey, man. Also, I think I but anyway, so I went by her house. Anyway, I just was watching. Well, I hope also as well. That's not the fun. But it was 6 o'clock, guys. Starts around. So that's my kids. Yeah, well, they didn't have a slug. Sarah. Hi there. Hi.
I'd like to welcome you to the Skamania County Chamber of Commerce candidates forum. My name is Angie Weiss. I'm the Executive Director of the Skamania Chamber of Commerce. I know that many of you are not used to seeing our chamber host events like this. So I wanted to give just a little bit of background on how we got here. In 2020, the chamber started doing a needs assessment survey of our membership. And through the survey results, we found that representing the interests of business to government was a high priority for our members. So we listened to that feedback, and under the direction of the chamber's board, we started creating a government affairs program this year. As part of this program, we felt that it was important to host events like a candidates forum, so here we are. This is our first event, but it won't be our last, and we're very excited about expanding our efforts and advocacy work for our business community. The Skamania County Chamber of Commerce is a nonpartisan organization, and we do not endorse candidates. The focus of our advocacy efforts are to support business growth and development and promote a business-friendly environment. So that will be the focus of this evening's forum. Before we get started, we would like to acknowledge all of our current elected officials. If you are currently serving in elected positions, all of those folks, we really appreciate their time and effort that they give to public service. As the saying goes, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. And we appreciate that these folks step up to take on those tough roles. With that said, I'd like to introduce our moderator for this evening, the Mayor of Stevenson, Scott Anderson.
Lots of great information from our candidates tonight. This is a very tight format. While there is a lot, the audience will not be allowed to ask questions, we've also asked this forum is being recorded. It will be available on YouTube. The Skamania County Chamber of Commerce solicits the public questions. These suggestions were consolidated and clarified by the Chamber's Government Affairs. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. When we have some questions, each candidate will be asked 4 questions, given 1 question. We will alternate between the candidates, the first responder rotating each question. Candidates will be allowed to finish the sentence they have already started once time runs out. We also ask the candidates to answer the question that was posed. Candidates are not to interrupt or talk during another's ballot. So the time will be a visual basis. We have very running time. Actually, we'll probably go over the paddles as you all come up. But in the meantime, yellow paddle, 15 seconds. Red paddle, time's up. I would invite all of you at this time to silence your phones. Or you can turn them all the way up so we know exactly who didn't turn on. All right. Again, this is a very tight agenda. I want to kind of keep us some time. That's part of my job. Let's do that part. So first up, I would like to invite up to the table candidates for Skamania County Commissioner District 3, Bob Hamlin.
Check, check. Check, check.
So there was going to be a funny line where I was going to say in a coin-toss film earlier, but so Kennedy Asalecki has won the toss. He will be receiving the question first. First question. Let's do our introduction first. Let's start with that. Introduction, 2-minute introduction.
So I'm Asa Leckie. I'm running for County Commissioner District 3. I was born and raised in Vancouver, Washington, and I decided early on this is where I wanted to live and retire. I married Karen in 04, and we made Stabler our primary residence while I served at Fort Lewis. I retired from the Army in 2018, and I then attended Clark College Diesel Program. After graduating, I was hired by the college as a lab tech for the first-year diesel program. This forum is focused on business in the county. In my opinion, the government should not be involved in the affairs of business owners. Government should try to prevent harm to the consumers and the environment, but a government that is 30 trillion in debt has no place telling business owners how to conduct their affairs. Business owners do not need to be led. They are already leaders. They have taken their own wealth, their own time, and their own sweat to try to make their American dream come true. Your local government should help keep small business by reducing or eliminating unnecessary rules or regulations that burden local businesses. But here in Skamania County, there's a little twist on that. The amount of available developable land is limited. Portions of this land is owned or under control by the county. One possible solution, I believe, is trade schools. Colleges cannot adapt or forecast the changing needs of industry. This is causing businesses to look into creating their own schools where they can train their own workforce. If we can get these schools to be located here in Skamania County, this could provide revenue. Putting dormitories in the schools will also prevent additional burden on our housing issues. As students temporarily staying in the county, they will spend money just like the tourists. For years, we've been looking for solutions from our own federal and state governments. We must start creating our own solution as a county. The federal government is so far in debt and cannot continue to help us financially. The first cutbacks are going to be where the voting demographics cannot move the political needle very far, such as Skamania County. Thank you.
Very much.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming out. My name is Bob Hamlin. I'm running for re-election, Skamania County Commissioner District number 3. I've served for the last 8 years, and going back in time, I've lived in the county for 33 years. When I moved here to invest in the county. I walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk. I came here and bought commercial real estate, started a business, and for the last 33 years, was self-employed and grew a business. So with that, I understand a lot of the problems that the business community has. I've been involved with the Chamber of Commerce for 32 years. I was past president of the Chamber of Commerce in 1992. I was head of the Stevenson Business Association in 91. I've been involved with the Chamber continually all these years. I've been in the Home Valley Water District, and I've run as an elected official there as a water commissioner. I've been involved in so many organizations in this community that it's hard for me to remember all of them right now, but I have had a place in this community and I want to continue that. And the reason why I want to continue is that I've been here, I've seen what happens when commissioners have served multiple terms. Because when we do have commissioners who have served multiple terms, we've done better. We've had Al McKee, we've had Ed Callahan, we've had commissioners who were able to make differences to this county by what they did outside the county and what they did within the county. And that's what I'm looking for, is the chance to be able to continue to contribute and walk the walk, not just talk the talk. With that, I'll close.
Thank you both. And like, question number 1. Why are you running for this position? What experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
So I'm running because I've seen a lot of things and a lot of issues with the county that aren't being dealt with correctly. I had 18 years in special forces, and that's a result-driven organization. I managed budgets in money in the millions of dollars, and my leaders trusted my integrity to handle projects unsupervised, especially overseas. And I worked in small teams, and I just lost my train of thought. So I'm qualified because I see what's going on in the county. And I've had people come up to me and say that they've heard that I'm also looking to cut, I believe our seniors are being taxed to death in this county. Our assessments just came out, and that's one of the reasons I'm running, because I don't want to be taxed out of living here. Thank you.
And when this position, my experience in that qualifies.
All right. The reason why I'm running for this position is that when I ran 8 years ago, the county was in financial distress. We had $1.2 million in debt that we owed to Umpqua Bank based on previous commissioners' decisions. I came into the county to help solve that problem. We were able to pay off that debt, and we've been able to restore some of the services that the citizens of this county require. Everything from public safety to county roads, we've been able to make new hires to restore some of those programs that everyone relies on. Not only that, we've been able to do the senior program, which everybody who's ever been here in this room, when the seniors have their lunches, they all know that it really provides a major service to the seniors of this county. And I want to be able to keep those kind of programs running because there are a lot of people dependent upon them. There's so many programs that most people who don't get actively involved understand that are
And that
important.
is time. Okay. Question number 2, and Hamlin will go first. You received a $1 million grant. What would you use it for?
So if we had a $1 million grant, and most grants come with strings, and they can only be spent on certain things, but if it was a free and open grant where we could spend it on anything we want, it would go into the current expense budget. And the reason why I say current expense is that current expense is $16 million in this budget, and we have most programs in that budget. I know you're going to hear from the sheriff's candidates tonight, and I know they have a lot of wants and needs, and we would be able to fulfill a lot of those wants and needs. We'd be able to do an awful lot, and $1 million, when it comes right down to it, isn't that much. It's a small parcel of how much we spend. Most people who really get involved with the budget have a better understanding, and I encourage you all to come to meetings and pay attention.
And I'd like you, if you received a free and open $1 million grant, what would you use it for?
Well, one of the things that keeps Skamania County is our law enforcement and our emergency services. And what we've seen is that our county deputies are some of the lowest paid in the state. And right now we're competing against Multnomah County and Clark County that are offering up to $50,000 bonuses to get those deputies. And I think that that money should be used for emergency services and pay increases, not only for the deputies, but if it could also go further, the county workers that have been denied their 5% living wage increase.
And I'd like you're up for question number 3. How do you plan to attract skilled workers to Skamania County with a very limited workforce housing and childcare?
And that's one of the restraints that we are facing as a county, is that we can't attract businesses if we don't have the labor and workforce. When businesses look at someplace to go, they have a formula. When they look at Skamania County and like manufacturing, for instance, the formula works, but it doesn't work for replacement workers. And that's why I would pursue my trade school idea, because it wouldn't tax the, it wouldn't cause issues with the housing, and we wouldn't need more childcare for that issue.
How do you plan to attract skilled workers to Skamania County with very limited workforce housing and childcare?
Well, one of the things we're doing right now is we're developing childcare out at the old Stabler Business Park. And we're developing that using a grant from the Department of Commerce that has allowed a business that is already working there to expand its operation. They've been successful and they're going to become even more successful. One of the things that we learn if you're in economic development for any period of time is that you don't want to try and hope that some outside company is going to move in and give you all these jobs and all this opportunity. What you really want to do is grow the businesses you have. You want to develop within your county the businesses that are already here and help them grow and flourish. And that's what we always try to do. We've worked at that for years and we're making progress, and I want to continue that progress.
Hamlin, last question. How would you involve businesses in your plans to prepare for future growth and development throughout Skamania County?
In many ways, we're already doing a lot of that. We've got the Stevenson Downtown Association, which is working with a lot of the local businesses, developing the businesses here within Stevenson. We're also reaching out to businesses throughout the county when we deal with all the ins and outs of infrastructure and trying to get the capacity for new businesses to move here. That means increases in power availability, that means water, that means sewer, that means expanding infrastructure. Because without infrastructure, you're not going to grow. We have to have everything in place. We have to create fertile ground for business. And if we do that, business will come and business will flourish. And so we're always looking at grants. We're always looking at all the opportunities that we know are out there and creating that ability for businesses to be here and succeed.
How would you involve businesses in your plans to prepare for future growth and development throughout Skamania County?
Okay, you're going to need creativity and problem solving. And that's something I did for 18 years of special forces. And how you solve that is looking at things differently and connecting data points that don't normally connect. For instance, I volunteer for Skamania County Knuckle Busters, and I was already contacted by a local business that is looking to take those kids learning skills in that venue, coming over to their business while they're still in high school. And that develops skills in them that either they use here in the county to direct hire once they graduate, or they can go elsewhere to then get employment once they are done with high school. And that's how I see one way that you can get, and you work with the local businesses by tying them in with things that they don't normally tie in with. And that's what we do as a community. And you have to create those networks and look at how those things can be solved internally to the county without relying on external funds, because we just don't get the support that we should.
That concludes the 4 questions for the county commissioner's spot. While they are taking their seat, and I invite up the PUD candidates, Kathleen Fitzgerald. Give another round of applause. Kathleen Fitzgerald has won the toss. She will go first with a 2-minute introduction, and will also take the first question. So,
Hello, everybody. My name is Kathleen Fitzgerald. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women's Voters for putting this together and everybody showing up. It shows that you care a lot about your community. I've been here since 2014, full time, but I have been in and out of Orange my whole life. My grandmother and grandfather had a cabin up Trapper Creek, and I've been fishing Trapper Creek and down to the Wind Mountains, or down to the Wind River, since first grade. I started doing that. I was born and raised on a farm, and some of my community service has led me to a lot of service here. I am a small business owner. I am a mother, and I just became a grandmother. I'm 59 years old, and my whole life has been about working very hard and creating an environment, my family, and just, you know, leaving people in a better space. So my dedication to this community, because this is where I live, this is where I plan to stay. This position is a 6-year term. I don't know if anybody's known that, but it is a huge commitment. And I want to offer to you that I believe that the will of the people is the backbone of this community and our country. And we have to restore our republic. We must stand up for the Constitution, and I can guarantee you that that is my first and primary goal, to uphold the Constitution, the law of the land, and the laws of God, the laws of creation. I'm a Christian. I'm a strong individual. I'm a researcher, and I have a radio talk show called Moms Across America, where we deal with lots of different issues. Thank you.
My name is Dave McKenzie. I am your current PUD Commissioner for District Number 2. And yes, it is a 6-year term, and yes, that has been quite a commitment this last 6 years. But I'm willing to, if you will have me, I'm willing to do another 6 years. And there is an awful lot of work to that. A little bit about myself, and I look out there and I see and I know most of you out there. My wife and I've been in the gorge for 50 years, the last 40 in Skamania County. And my wife, Kathy, who is here this evening, she and I have raised our 4 kids. They've gone K through 12 here. We have grandkids now, so a 3rd generation is growing up here. So I guess, and I said this at the candidates night last week, why I even mentioned that is that, you know, I'm pretty familiar with Skamania County's past and the gorge's past for the last 50 years. And obviously I know what's going on currently, and I'm committed to the future too, having grandkids in the same school district and growing up in this county. And so I don't take any of the decisions that the Skamania County PUD commissioners make. They're tough decisions sometimes. And again, they involve an awful lot of research, an awful lot of getting in there and finding out what's going on. And just to give you a little overview there, we have, well, I guess we've got 15 seconds to go here, so I'll probably shut down on that. Anyway, thank you for coming out this evening. I know you're all busy people, and this shows your interest, and I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Question number 1 is Kathleen Fitzgerald. Why are you running for this position, and what experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
Well, I never actually gave this position a thought until I had some Skamania County residents ask me to run. They asked me to step up to the plate. I thought about it, and I decided I'd throw my hat in the ring. Because I had God tell me a little bit before this that I was supposed to run for some sort of position. I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe it'd be the mayor, but no. It's for the Skamania County PUD District Number 2 position. And so that's why I'm here. My experience, volunteer work, firefighter, EMT, I don't have as much experience as Mr. McKenzie, obviously, but I'm a fast learner, and I've had many, many jobs, and I've done massage therapist for 32 years, so I know how to stick with something. Thank you.
Why are you running for this position? What experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
Well, what's nice is I retired from full gainful employment here, it's been 2 or 3 years now. Because bottom line, it is an awful lot of work in this position. I've done it for the last 6 years. I couldn't do work and this position at the same time. It does take an awful lot of thought and an awful lot of research. My background is banking, real estate, and also looking at large industrial and commercial properties. I was an appraiser, and so I was analyzing financial statements. So I'm extremely familiar with financial statements, and that has helped in my position here with the PUD and will help in the future too with the PUD. I'm not going to give you a chance to raise that.
Question number 2, Kenneth Lindsay, you're up first. If you received a free and clear $1 million grant, what would you use it for?
Wow. Well, it'd be a dream. I guess if it was a no strings attached $1 million, I think what I would do, because I know in what the chamber has been looking at, in fact, kind of focusing on some of their deliverables is infrastructure. We have had to make some infrastructure improvements, and those have been improvements that have had to be made. I guess what I would do is probably put that $1 million, and it isn't going to go very far, but I would put it into our rate stabilization fund, to where, in other words, it would to try to keep those rates from going up, and use those dollars, if there are no strings attached, use those dollars to go right back to the ratepayers.
Really, receive $1 million free and clear. What would you use it for?
Well, if $1 million would cover it, I would like to replace all of the AMI infrastructure and replace it with the AMR again. I don't like the AMI infrastructure at all. I think that we can restore our electric grid. And if $1 million would do it, that's what I would do. And if I couldn't use it for that, then I would give it directly to the ratepayers and bring the rates down and try to figure out ways to, like I said, put it into some infrastructure. But I would not continue to use that $1 million towards the AMI system. Thank you.
Question 3, Fitzgerald, how would you use the existing PUD infrastructure to bring high-speed internet to your customers? How would you use the existing PUD infrastructure to bring high-speed internet to your customers?
Okay, folks, I don't know too much about that. I have to be honest with you. I would have to research and get to the bottom of it before I could answer that honestly. I know that they need the broadband in order to get the AMI infrastructure in complete the system. I know that the broadband study feasibility was a little bit difficult and very expensive. So that's going to be a challenge, and I can't really honestly answer you that right now. But if you want to email me, catforthepeople@gmail.com, I will get to the bottom of it and give you a good answer. Thank you.
And Lindsay, how would you use the existing PUD infrastructure to bring high-speed internet to your customers?
Well, we did a study. In fact, it was a year ago this month. The study was completed for internet, so for that infrastructure, at a cost of about, I think it was in the low $60 million. And a lot of that, yeah, I know, I heard some groans out there, and then we kind of groaned when we saw that too. We would use our a lot of our existing poles because it would just be stringing some wire or or maybe even some of the conduit. But still, that cost was in that 60+ million range. And even if we were to get a grant for 10 to 15 million, you're still talking 45 to 50 million. And it showed in that study, it showed that we wouldn't have, that we would still be in a negative cash flow by several $1 million, even 20 years on down the line. So I would like to look at this, but I don't know how we can look at it that fully like we did before.
Question number 4, and Benton. How would you ensure that PUD's infrastructure is able to meet the growing demands of increased businesses and residents in Skamania County?
Oh, great question. And in fact, I think we're doing that right now. We in 2000, I think it was either 2006 or 2008, the previous administration bought the 5 substations from the BPA. We have had to, and we knew it at the time, or the commissioners that purchased it knew it at the time, had to redo those, update them, because they were 50, 60-year-old substations. We're doing one right now in North Bonneville. The cost of that upgrade is about 11 million, let's see, is that right? $11 million. And that's for the substation and a feeder line. We got 9 million in grants for that. So that's a lot of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars coming back to this county to support that particular project. And that'll be beneficial for both industrial, commercial, and residential property.
Senator Fitzgerald, how would you ensure that PUD's infrastructure is able to meet the growing demands of increased businesses and residents in Skamania County?
Great question. Well, I did a little bit of research, and it looks like it's going to be hard to supply everyone with electricity if, as businesses grow here and people come here. So I think that we'll have to be very creative in finding ways to generate different types of electricity. I think that there's a lot of innovative and good, inventions, or not inventions, but new technology that is coming. I believe that we can get ahead of that, and we can, together as a community, put our heads together. There's a lot of amazing people here. I think that if we look at alternative energies to support the system, also with the infrastructure, I think that we should be pretty good. We should be pretty good at it.
Thank you. These questions for the commissioner candidates. One more round of applause for you. Announced, we do have candidates for Skamania County Sheriff, David Whitmire and Shire. Shire had won the toss. She will be doing their introduction and answering the question first.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. As introduced, I'm Summer Shire, and I am a Skamania County Sheriff candidate. I am a 23-year law enforcement veteran. 20 and a half of those years have been serving right here in Skamania County. For 23 years, I responded to over 13,000 calls for service. I make constitutional decisions with every shift. I've sacrificed my time with my own family to ensure the safety of yours. I've led as a search and rescue coordinator. I've led as a field training officer. I've led for special operations plans, and I've led as a senior deputy. For 23 years, I've worked nights, holidays, and weekends for you. I responded to horrific scenes that will never leave my memory. I put my feelings aside, and I continued and accomplished the task at hand. For 23 years, I've been a problem solver. I've worked in the trenches. I've been on the user end of our dispatch center, corrections, and civil. I can tell you where we're excelling, and I can tell you where we're failing. My 23 years of actual law enforcement experience provides an exceptional foundation of skills, knowledge, and understanding to lead as your next sheriff of Skamania County. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you all for being here tonight. This is a great turnout. I really appreciate that. Great to see some supportive faces out there in the crowd. So for the last 27 years, I've been with Skamania County Sheriff's Office. I was born and raised here in Skamania County, graduated Stevenson High School, married that wonderful lady out there in the audience. My high school sweetheart, we've been together 28 years. I should have done that. Raised our family here. We chose to raise our family here because growing up here, we understood that this is the place that we wanted to be. We love the way of life in Skamania County, and that's why I chose to run for sheriff, to continue to protect that way of life. In my 27 years in the sheriff's office, it's been multifaceted. I've been able to work in every department, every division within the sheriff's office. Currently in Sheriff Brown's admin, I've been doing that for nearly 19 years now. I learned a lot from Sheriff Brown, respected dearly, and glad to see him here tonight. And I do appreciate all that I've learned over the years. I am heavily involved in the community. I've coached everything I can coach since 1994. My wife and I have volunteered in every youth sport that there actually is. And currently coaching high school football, and been heavily involved for 15 years with the Skamania County Fair Board and the current Fair Board president. Being involved with the kids and the future of our community is the most important thing to me, and I will continue to do that if elected to our next year. Thank you.
And Shire, why are you running for this position? What experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
I'm going to answer this backwards as presented. So as I explained, I have a lot of experience, and it's from the trenches. It's the actual real world experience that it takes. And I have seen some issues within our sheriff's office and within our corrections side and within dispatch that need to be repaired. And I know this from the user end. And I think it should be a priority. Our radios are unacceptable and antiquated. And I know many deputies who have been in very dangerous situations that could not call for help and over our radio system. That needs to be repaired. That's important to me. These things are important to me, as that safety, our community programs with the connection with our patrol, and having those set community programs amongst the sheriff's office and having that inclusion is very important to me. And I'm getting the red. Thank you very much.
And why are you running this position? What experience do you have that qualifies you?
So why I run for this position, I already touched on that a minute ago, but I'm going to say it again. I'm here to protect the way of life that we've accustomed to in Skamania County. Growing up here, I expected to get in the logging industry, and as anybody that's lived here very long knows, that was not an option by the time we graduated high school. So in my 27 years in the sheriff's office, my experience has prepared me for this position because I actually have a grasp of every single piece of that office. The radios are certainly an issue. I do not disagree. We've tried to do certain things over the years to try to improve this. Anybody that understands our budget in Skamania County, constraints, it's terrible that constraint put our officers in risk, but it does. There's dead spots in our county. There's certain things that we need to fix, and there's things that we'll continue to try to find money for it to fix.
You received a $1 million freedom grant. What would you use it?
Well, I'll tell you what, so was touched on earlier, we're having a heck of a time getting candidates to apply for any of our positions. So hiring bonuses to bring people on, getting our guys raises to get them up to where they're comparable. You can go to a neighboring community and make quite a bit more money in no time. So it's difficult. We've had open positions on the road. We've just filled the last open position first of this month. It's been open all year. On the jail, we actually have 2 spots open, one open in the middle of the year. So getting people on board to fill those empty spots is a huge priority. $1 million is a one-time deal, so I would also try to sink some money into some infrastructure pieces. Could be radio, could be whatever it may be, but whatever that would cover, obviously it's not a sustainable revenue, so I can't commit anywhere beyond that first year. Yeah.
And Shire, you received a $1 million free clear grant. What would you use it?
Well, I did kind of guess this question was going to be for us as well. I was a detective. So I thought about things for a while here, and of course I want to throw $1 million at our radios, but that's not going to touch our issue. There's obviously some different grants out there for that. School resource deputy, but there's grants out there for that. So I thought about this. I put out my objectives of my future immediate goals back in April. I listed them, and one of them is a commercial vehicle enforcement deputy. Washington State Patrol is not cutting it out here, and it's very dangerous to me. And they ripped out the scales in Home Valley, so this is an area of lawlessness. The commercial vehicle traffic is mainly coming onto 14 to avoid the IFTA tax on 84. So it's not local traffic. I would dump that $1 million to get the equipment up that and get that going, and then we would be able to fund most of that program through ticket writing as well. Thank you.
And Shire, question for you. Tell us about a specific situation or instance that demonstrates how you have grown to be prepared for this position.
There's not one specific one. You can't take 23 years of law enforcement experience and boil it down to a specific instance. I have over 2,300 hours, 2,300 hours of professional training that I have strived to improve myself throughout my career. I have my bachelor's of arts degree in criminal justice, and second major in sociology, and a minor in wildlife management. So throughout my lifetime, I've continued to grow and build myself to this specific position. Just recently, I completed my FBI leadership trilogy for leadership specifically, and that was a huge accomplishment for me. And that was specifically for this position. And I will continue to learn as I grow into this position as your sheriff. Thank you.
Tell us about a specific situation or instance that demonstrates how you have grown to be prepared for this position.
I'll tell you guys, when I started off in corrections back in 1995, working in the jail in the 911 dispatch center. At that time, my first year working, and this is going to sound a little alarming to some of you folks, but I was involved in 13 altercations in that jail in the first year. I went home on a regular basis, not knowing, I thought that was the normal thing. After that first year, it really snapped for me. It's my communication and the way that I handled myself completely changed. I was able to then talk myself out of all these people coming into the jail on a regular basis. They're very amped up and they're ready to fight you, whoever's in front of them. Learning how to communicate was the biggest thing at that point in time, and I've just continued to work on that over the years. That was a turning point for me as far as becoming a leader. I have stepped into that in 2004, and people have followed me. So, thank you.
Report, and Whitmer, that you faithfully carry out the duties of sheriff in a non-partisan manner as it relates to state and federal mandates on businesses.
Absolutely. So after we've all gone through the COVID madness that we've gone through, and a lot of things have come up. There's a lot of things I can confidently say, having lived through that now. As far as the mandates go, it's up to the businesses what they want to enforce within their business. And my job as the sheriff and the sheriff's staff would be to show up and enforce unruly customers, things like that. I will stand up to protect them for what they want to see protected within those businesses. At the end of the day, I swear to uphold an oath, and I swear to uphold that oath for everybody. I don't care what your party line is. I swear to uphold that oath to protect your rights across the board.
You faithfully carry out the duties of sheriff in a non-partisan manner as it relates to state and federal mandates.
Absolutely. Law enforcement in essence is nonpartisan. And there are RCWs, WACs, and various different ordinances that don't have an R or a D or an I or an L next to them. So I'm a part owner in a small business, and I watched what happened, mandates and what it did to our business. We almost lost it, and it was a gym. So that was very frustrating to me, but we did have to close down and follow these mandates. It is not law enforcement's job to enforce mandates. What a business wants to do and how they want to operate is on their own. That is not a law enforcement task, period. We will not be doing that. I can definitely tell you this has nothing to do with partisanship whatsoever. Thank you.
That concludes the questions for this round. You guys give another round of applause. I would like to invite to the stage candidate for District 17, State Representative number 1, Kevin Watterson and Terry Niles. So we do have candidates for District 17, State Representative number 1, Kevin Watterson and Terry Niles. Candidate Niles has won the toss. She will go first on the 2-minute question.
Hello, hi, my name is Terry Niles. I am running for the Legislative District, Division 1. I am a 25-year critical care nurse. I view public service now as just an extension of service to the same way I took care of my patients, service to the community. A little bit of history about me. Before I became a critical care nurse, I worked in the hospitality business for about 25 years as well. I worked for a gentleman that took one restaurant, ended up with 34 restaurants. I went around the world and I trained them in service and how to, so I understand what small businesses and growing businesses go through. So I have, not only do I have experience in hospitality and the business end, during my career as a nurse, I worked as a nursing supervisor at Sacred Heart Hospital in Eugene. And so I got a lot of experience in administrative as well. So I'm really looking forward to getting to know everybody in Skamania. I served as a charter review commissioner in Clark County in 2021. So for the district that I am running to represent. So I'm pretty familiar with how our county charter works and the laws that we're governed on. in Clark County. So it's, I'm really looking forward to getting this message in county as well. Thank you very much.
Well, first off, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the Chamber, and your staff for hosting this. A couple of things. My name is Kevin Watterson. I'm running the 17th District State Legislature. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a fourth generation Skamania County resident. I live in my grandparents' house with my two beautiful little daughters and my wife I'm going to high school with. And we own a wedding venue, and I'm also a small business owner and a few other things. The other thing I want to mention too is I'm a former corrections officer. So I served with Summer and David a number of years ago for just a couple of years. And then helped start our grocery store in Carson, and I became a port commissioner shortly after that. So I was port commissioner for 9 years. And then after that, I started Backwoods. And then after that, I became the economic development director for Skamania County. So businesses are very important to me. Our livelihood is very important to me. Skamania County obviously is extremely important to me. And a couple of things since Mary hasn't put up the lawn yet. I would love to see a robust economy here in Skamania County. It's obvious. I mean, I'm the economic development director, so I'd love to see something like that. I also, too, I want to be someone that all of you, no matter which side, is proud to see up in Olympia. It's very, very important to me. And then the other thing is, I want to stay strong with our police. I want to figure out a way for the state to give money to our local police, work on the homeless issue, housing crisis, broadband issues, and continue the work that I've done for a number of years here. So thank you very much.
Question number one, candidate Niles, why are you running for this position? What experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
Hello? Okay, so I think I talked a little bit about my lifetime work in public service. And how I view this as another way of serving the public. The last 2 years in COVID, as an ICU nurse that worked at OHSU in your regional hospital, and I took care of quite a few people from rural Washington as well, really kind of brought it home to me, like how working people have been left behind. We saw essential workers like our law enforcement and nurses step up and really keep this country running. And we saw them do it without the tools to do that. So it was heartbreaking. And I'm sorry. And just talk about that I need to step up and help people start even. So I'm here as a candidate to represent working people. Thank you.
Waters, why are you running for this position? What experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
Well, first off, you guys might laugh at me, but I was in youth and government in high school, and I got the bug then, and I loved youth and government. And from there, I had a teacher that taught a number of us in this crowd, but taught my father, and he really expelled to me, you know, you need to get out there. If you want to have a voice in something, you need to step up and be that voice. And so it's kind of been that way my entire life, serving the Port Commission, even being a corrections officer for a couple of years. And then as a small business owner, and then now the economic development director. I've just seen ways that I think that we can get help from the state. I think there's ways for us to improve our livelihood here in Skamania County and in Southwest Washington. So, yeah.
Candidate Waters, I'll give you guys a couple of This is on what this might be related to. If you could direct $1 million to Skamania, what would you use?
Well, it's no secret, if you know me, that I love our school system. So I went K through 12 at Stevenson High School, or Stevenson School, or Stevenson University School District. Oh, it's fun. And if I could, I would direct those funds. And I'll bring you up a perfect example. Stevenson High School, well, all of our schools. Carson Elementary was one of the first schools. My grandma, she went to secondary. That was her first year at Carson Elementary. None of these schools have heating, have proper heating and proper cooling. And so I would like to see heating and air conditioning in our schools. It's a lot of money. It's $4 million roughly just for the high school. So any way we can start working, chipping away at that, I'd love to see that.
And then that was direct $1 million to Skamania County.
Okay, I can't disagree with what you said. Thank you.
And anyone else?
Thank you, Dr. Birch.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, we have to talk about that. But the one thing I want you guys to know is that I am supported by nurses, teachers, firefighters, port commissioners throughout the district, and working family in this district. So if you look on my website, you'll see a long list of working people that have endorsed my campaign. You'll also see, you'll see mayors and city council members and the Clark County area that have done that as well. So I have a long history of working with people in this district, and I will continue and get to know all of you and continue working for you. Thank you.
Tell us about a specific situation or instance that demonstrates how you have grown and prepared for this position.
I can tell you about the pandemic, but I think I've already told you about that, but the pandemic actually was a real turning point for a lot of people. I do want to tell you, when you want to talk about mental health, as the nursing supervisor of Sacred Hearts in Oregon, when I was down there, I managed the only inpatient mental health facility in Oregon at the time. There was a time when I was on one night, and where a young man came in, he asked for a bed. We never had any empty beds. We were bringing beds from people from all over the state. We didn't have it. He put his bag down. He ran up on the roof, and he was hanging off the roof. I had to go as a nursing supervisor and talk to him. That's how important it is that we get some mental health facilities going, and we get some mental health. I would love to see walk-in mental health where people can actually, when they know they're in crisis, they can go in and get help.
Tell us about a specific situation or instance that demonstrates how you have grown and prepared for this position.
Well, first off is when I was corrections officer, David was 100% correct. I was 23 years old and had people sometimes at the worst possible time in their life. And one thing, I don't know if Sheriff Brown remembers saying this to me, but he said, just remember, when people come into this jail, a lot of times it's the worst day of their life. So please treat them accordingly. And I did, and I learned how to grow from that. Secondly, as economic development director, going through COVID-19, I was 6 months into my job. I had a really ambitious schedule and what I thought we should be working on, and then the pandemic happened. And I got to administer between a little over $1 million in COVID-19 grants and loans, and to help people in business, help people who are employed or people here in this county. That really meant a lot to me and helped me grow. Thank you.
And Watterson, how would you support sustainable transportation systems projects?
Well, first off, we do have the CAT system, which is done by McKed, and it's a bus system that goes all major areas in Forge, and it also goes to Vancouver. So that is one thing. I mean, I would support that to the best of my ability. We also have senior transportation, which I would definitely support. But I think overwhelmingly, we have to look at Highway 14 and the shape Highway 14 is in, and we need to improve Highway 14. And I mean, that's definitely one of my top priorities is to we have to fix our first issue first before we can go into other issues. And so we have some resources. I want to keep those resources strong. But I also think it doesn't take anybody to take 14 and go, we need some improvements here. So I'd love to see improvements on 14 as well. Thank you.
Nine, how would you support sustainable transportation systems and projects in our rural areas?
I agree with Kevin Waters, and I do think that highway was there's something that has to be done there. It's I'm new at experiencing this because since I've been traveling here a lot to visit you guys, but you know, getting behind a new truck or, you know, 50 miles is really difficult. And that's an issue. And so I think there's a way to kind of get some of these trucks off of here and over there and on Highway 80. And I'm open to listening to ways to make that happen. But definitely infrastructure is huge. And it's something that we should all be interested in. I know that there is some funding coming from the state. I think it's Riverhead, Washington, that's going to spend a lot of money on infrastructure and these kind of things. And so, you know, from the bridge to Highway 14, infrastructure is like number one.
Put your hands up one more time. And two, we're in all of those. And here's one toss. We started off with an introduction, we'll also be answering question one first. So, an introduction.
Okay, thank you. So I live here in Skamania County. I'm on 50 acres over in the west end. I bought that property in 1999. It's in timber. I'm running because I want to put the emphasis on working families. I think we need to support working families, small business, and local jobs. That's where we should be putting our attention. For too long in Olympia, big money interests have held sway. I think it's time to return the focus where it belongs on working families who do well. With working families, everyone will be doing well. Another way to create jobs that I believe that we should be looking at is in moving to clean energy and adoption of clean energy to translate into a lot of good jobs. Thirdly, I'm running because I want to see us restore our sense of community, where everyone is valued and respected. I think we need more money for law enforcement so that everyone can feel safe, things like community policing. I think we need money for mental health and drug addiction and transitional housing. So those are the priorities that I am focused on. In 2005, I was working at Daimler Truck Plant, and I ran for and was elected a union rep by the members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. So I negotiated contracts from Chehalis, Washington, all the way down to Canby, Oregon. I was able to bring people together, find our core interests and where they align, and work with people so we can move forward in our common goals. That kind of attitude and ability will help in Olympia. I've been a volunteer on a number of boards, but most importantly, I'm a good listener, and I want to hear people. I want to hear how people think we can grow and create and protect jobs in our area. And I think it's really important that we have communities that thrive. If we have good jobs, a lot of our problems will be disappearing.
I am State Representative Paul Harris. I've had the opportunity of serving in the 17th district for 12 years. I'm new to your area and I've been driving here. It's absolutely beautiful. My home is not on 50 acres. I wish it was. My home is on a little tiny lot in Vancouver, right next to the 205 bridge. I'm just barely in the area and you're on the other end of the area. I've been in the 17th district for 40 years. I've been elected for 12. I've served on the Evergreen School Board for 10 years. I currently serve on the board of Columbia River Mental Health, and I serve on the board of SHARE. I'm a father of 5 children. I know how long I've been married to my wife. It's been 47 years. Yeah, extremely well. It's in my mind. I have 9 grandchildren. I love Clark County. I could go to many other places, but I love Skamania too, to be quite frank, as I visit this as far, honestly, I don't know. And I think it's an interesting paradigm. This district is very diverse now. I appreciated Kevin Waters saying some things about the schools. The schools here are completely different than my schools, to be quite frank with you, in Evergreen. And the disparity is stark. And I hope that that's something that we can work on, because education, I believe, is one of the reasons I became a legislator. I ran because government got into my business. I was with Miller Paint for 15 years, started the bottom of the company, became vice president of Miller Paint Company, and then left Miller Paint Company and started my own paint company, and realized how government got into businesses, especially businesses that make things and produce things. And they were in my business, and I thought, I'm going to get on that committee and make a change.
Question 1, and here, why are you running for this position? What experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
Well, I looked at the position as it was coming up, and I noticed that we had an incumbent, Paul, and I looked at his voting record, and his voting record, as reviewed by the Washington State Labor Council, was only a lifetime record of 27%, which is really poor for voting on issues that affect working families. Looking at his voting on environmental issues, on housing, affordable housing, on childcare, affordable childcare, a lot of votes against those things. So I decided I was going to step up, because I think the priority has to be that we do something about people who are in crisis right now. We have a lot of folks that are really, really struggling with the high cost. Young families can't get into a home, etc. My credentials, I've been a lot of things. I serve on a pension board. I've been a bookkeeper. I know how to handle money. I handle payroll, and I'm on the conservation district as a supervisor.
Very much. And candidates from one member to see the question and try to voice. Candidate Harris, why are you running for this position? And what experience do you have that qualifies you for this position?
Well, trust me, I can defend myself. So I'm running for this position because I have a lot more to accomplish, to be quite frank with you. I ask you to go to my website if you want to see who endorses me. Almost every small business endorses me, and almost every large business, to be quite frank, endorses me. I'm endorsed by the pipe fitters. I have some union endorsements also that are rather unique this cycle. I'll be quite transparent with you. I've raised more money in this cycle than I ever have in my life, and I've done nothing different. I feel like I'm highly qualified for this job. If you look at who endorses me, it is tremendous. And I think that's because I have an open door policy. I listen to individuals, and I make a very informed decision. And I listen to all sides because I think all sides have something to share. And I always listen and just make a good decision. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve and hopefully again.
And Harris, then use question 2, you direct $1 million to Skamania County. What would it be used for?
Well, first thing, if I got $1 million, to be quite frank, you might not like this, but in the state budget, if I can get $1 million, I can go to the capital budget committee and I can leverage that. I can get you $3 million. So that would be the first thing I would do, is I would take the $1 million and go to the capital budget committee and say, hey, I've got a project, but it's going to cost more, but I have $1 million over here. Can I leverage that? And can I get $2 more million? And I probably can. Then I would listen to somebody that lives in the community. Apparently, Mr. Watterson lives in the community, and he says we need air conditioning and heat my schools. That would be the first thing I'd probably look at, because I'd listen to my seatmate, if he is my seatmate, and I say, hey, seatmate, what's happening in Skamania, and what can we get done with $3 million? And that might be a great project. Maybe there's something else in the community that we might need, but I would try to leverage those dollars and do the absolute most for our community that we could.
And if you direct $1 million to Skamania County, what would it be used for?
Well, I like Paul's answer. If there's a way to leverage the money and get more, let's do it. And I think that's, he also answered very correctly. You need to listen to people to find out what your priority is. And for Skamania County, I think Kevin made a very good point about the schools. We also need housing, affordable housing. But I would listen to folks and see where the money should go.
Pretty candidate here. Tell us about a specific situation or instance that demonstrates how you have grown to be prepared for this position.
In 2009, the Daimler truck plant announced that it was closing and sending production to Mexico. And I was the lead union negotiator for 4 unions, 6 bargaining units, representing over 1,000 employees, talking to Daimler management about the closing. And we were able to sit down and talk through the liabilities that they would be facing by closing and the pros for staying open. And we were successful. And today that plant is still running, and it is the lead manufacturing plant for the Daimler company producing electric vehicles. So that's the example that I think I can take to Olympia. I can work with people and show the way forward that we can advance, and progress, and you don't have to be stymied by disagreement.
And Harris, tell us about a specific situation or instance that demonstrates how you have grown to be prepared for this position.
I've actually passed some legislation in the 12 years I've been there. And one of the bills that I'm most proud of, some Republicans might not like this. I'm a Republican. Some might not. I believe we have a vaping issue and a tobacco issue in our state. And I was the one that suggested that perhaps we might raise the age to smoking to 21. I propagated that bill. I got bipartisan support on that bill, and we raised the smoking age in the state from 18 to 21, and the vaping product's the same. I feel like when I see a need, and what's interesting about that is I was able to get both sides of the aisle to agree. You don't get bills passed in Olympia if you don't have support from the majority party. So I have a great working relationship with the speaker. The speaker came in with me. I am not one that digs in my heels and creates enemies, because you need everyone. Thank you.
Question 4, candidate Harris, how would you support sustainable transportation systems and projects in our rural area?
So, what day is today? Today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, God bless America. So Friday, I'm coming to the Hood River to look at the bridge. I'm going to walk that bridge with some different people. And I think the Hood River Bridge is really important to me. I hope it's important to all of you because it is. I need that bridge sustainable. I actually need that bridge to carry more weight. And so I sit on the Bridge Commission, by-state Bridge Commission. I want an I-5 bridge. I want a better Hood River Bridge. And I need something done with the Bridge of the Gods. So I will continue to work for solid transportation in this area. And I will be up here this Friday working on the Hood River Bridge to see what we can do to make sure that that Hood River Bridge can hold the 80,000 pounds that it needs to.
Here, how would you support sustainable transportation systems and projects in our rural area?
Well, I think, first of all, to be sustainable, we need to look to the future, and that is supporting electric transportation, so electric vehicle traffic, including electric buses. So that should be something we should be looking forward, and there are a lot of good jobs to do that. But in terms of providing better transportation, I agree with the idea of working on improving Highway 14 corridor, of course, supporting the Hood River Bridge, but in Clark County, I think we should be looking at a third bridge. Obviously, the Interstate 5 bridge needs to be replaced, but I think it would be helpful for us here in Skamania County for a bridge to be located east of the current 205 bridge. And that's something that if you look at the metropolitan area, Portland metropolitan area, we don't have crossings. St. Louis has 8 bridges across the Mississippi. We should have more. Thank you.
That was the final question. One more round of applause, please. For the evening, and you will have some comments for the close out. I would like to thanks all the candidates for their time and their commitment to our communities. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being well with us.
That. I just have some thank yous. I really appreciate all the candidates that took the time out of their busy schedules to be with us this evening and answer our questions. I want to say thank you to all of those who submitted questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them with time limitations. We had to cut back on submissions and try to combine some of them. So, but thank you for taking the time for submitting to submit questions. I want to say thank you to Angel Knight. She is my partner at the Skamania County Chamber. Mayor Scott Anderson for moderating. David Wyatt helped us out with AV, and that was priceless to me. Thank you, David. And of course, Mayor Corey for doing an awesome job of keeping time. Thank our Government Affairs Committee. We have 2 of those folks here tonight, Johanna in the back and Vicky over here on the side. They helped organize this event, and I appreciate their help. They're here for it. And also want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters. We have a table in the back, so lots of great voter information. Check that out before you leave. And Steve, is there anybody else? I don't want to leave anybody out. Thank you all for coming. The candidates would like to stick around and talk to you personally. We would grateful for that. So meet and greet.